right, welcome back to another Inside Texas Live show. It's time for the Around the League segment. And for the first time here is Mr. Stephen Willis. You can find him at the Stephen Willis on X, working for Locked On Ole Miss and covering a pretty dang good football team over in Oxford right now. And then welcome back to the channel, the one and only Chris Marler. Gentlemen, thank you. How are we doing tonight?
I am absolutely fantastic. It's a bye week. I just got to speak with Chris Beard, and I'm pretty excited about that. And basically, this week's going about as well as it could, honestly. Even Marler can't even make me upset.
Chris Beard, I don't know if I've ever heard that name.
That's fair. I'll do my best either way. I'm doing great, man. This has been a South Carolina one. They're in a bye week. I'm over here in Baton Rouge. They're in a bye week. They're in a cry week as well because it was a tough loss over there in Oxford. But it's not. It feels like there's like a little bit of like break finally. And I'm going to a concert tomorrow to see our favorite artist. It's gonna be a lot of fun, dude.
Living the dream, brother. Didn't even mention, a pretty good game down in Georgia said the Peach State, last weekend. I mean, I feel like you've had a pretty good time. But anyways, guys, before we get into it, we're here. We got Stephen for half an hour. We're going to recap their big win over Brian Kelly's Tigers, get into, some more recaps of last weekend. But first, hop on over to Inside Texas, your number one source for insider news, in-depth analysis, insider scoop. You join right now for $1 and you get a year access to The Athletic, a full year. So jump on that and take advantage while you can. All right, Steve, we're going to start with you, brother. I gave you plenty of, off-air compliments about Lane Kiffin and Pete Golding. How good do you think this Ole Miss team is? And did you kind of expect the performance that you guys, I thought you guys remotely dominated that football game. Maybe didn't just jump out on the scoreboard, but I don't think you really had to push too much, especially in that second half. So what are your thoughts on the Rebs overall? And then, was that your expectations about handling LSU?
I thought Ole Miss was going to win the game. I didn't think they were going to win it like that. I mean, that scoreline was very flattering to LSU because if you actually watch the game, it was a pretty handled beatdown. I did think Ole Miss was going to win the game. I predicted 10-2 early in the season, but the one thing that I have noticed that I've been surprised by is the emergence of Trinidad Chambliss has given Ole Miss another, a gear in their offense. And Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss and those guys are really good at what they try and scheme up. Chambliss, lets them get even more creative, if that makes sense. Joe Judge, the former NFL coach, has a role to play. They have an excellent quarterback staff in Oxford, Mississippi. I mean, somebody joked with me, it's like Ole Miss can't find a bad quarterback and Auburn can't find a quarterback. And so that's what's going on inside the SEC right now. And I think that there's nobody on the schedule that Ole Miss should be afraid of. You can beat everybody on that schedule. Now, you can still lose some games. That's obvious, the SEC. But what was 10-2 when I was thinking that, now there is no ceiling to this season. And that is an unbelievably bizarre feeling for an Ole Miss fan.
First off, they only played 12 games. That's the ceiling, dummy. No, you're not wrong, dude. You're not wrong. I think I was kind of down on this team at the start of the year with Simmons, because Simmons came in and had multiple turnovers, like right out of the gates multiple times. That you're right. With Trinidad Chambliss, this is a different team. I'll tell you what's scary for other people too is that Trinidad Chambliss came in. I'm just specifically talking about the LSU game. The LSU game, that's still one of the best defenses in the country, in my opinion. Like you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt about what you give up against an Ole Miss offense with Lane Kiffin, because he is going to figure out ways to dice you up and get and scheme guys up, and he's always been really great at that. What's scary is they go 3 and out in the first 2 drives, right? It's the first time in 11 games they've gone 3 and out in the opening drive of any game. So you had that. They had a slow start. They were able to overcome that. You had was it 9 or 11 penalties in the first half?
I think it was 11 in the first half. It's 14 overall.
Okay, so you had that was a program record, and that was just in the first half. Then, not to mention, you had the fumble out of the back of the end zone, or not back of the end zone. It was fumbled into the end zone and recovered by LSU. Where, like these are all things that win in LSU's favor. It wasn't like LSU had some oh man, woe is us. Like, we had this terrible luck when we got there. Like, it could have been much, much worse. And the ceiling, I think, for Ole Miss, you're right. Like, there's no other games that are super as concerning as you might have thought. They don't play Texas, right? Because Texas doesn't play anybody. They don't play boom. They don't play A&M. They don't play Bama. You don't have to play LSU again, obviously. And
they don't play Vandy.
You don't have Vandy, thank God, because they're world beaters. And Diego's still running his mouth over here for the Bama game, which is like, I don't know how to not believe him. It's like he's never lied to us. So, but like you have that whole situation too. I think the thing that's most impressive me is, Steven, I don't know if you watched the Alabama-Georgia game, but the Georgia game that's left of the schedule on the road, that's your biggest like hurdle, right? And you saw what Kalen DeBoer, who's a good offensive mind, and so is Ryan Grubb, they're not as good as Lane Kiffin offensively. I think I think from a play calling standpoint, you saw how dominant you can be offensively when you get creative like that. That's got to make you feel great.
Yeah, and the one thing is Chambliss forces the defense to have to play with 10 because you have to spot him. If you don't, he's going to break you down. So that is going to affect what the defense can do. LSU's defense, their secondary is huge. My gosh, they're monsters. And defensive line's fantastic, and don't even get me started on the linebacker unit. Anyway, this unit was told to me the best unit money can buy, essentially. And they're good players. But Lane Kiffin, this is an example. They found something in LSU's defense. They ran the same play. They might have dressed it up in personnel groupings and play call over the course of the game. But every time Ole Miss had a fourth down or a short yardage where they had to make a play, they went to that thing. And that was the sudden out, the same play that Daquan Wright got the fourth down at the end of the ball game. When these guys have time, the offensive genius stuff gets thrown around in college football. There's probably 67 offensive geniuses floating around the sideline in college football. Yeah. But with Lane Kiffin and those guys, the staff at Ole Miss is what separates, because you have the acumen of Lane Kiffin, but you have NFL head coaches that are sitting back coaching positions in Oxford. And it's just something I always like to joke about. It's just something for an Ole Miss fan that is so foreign. It wasn't that long ago. We were talking before the show. Texas was putting 63 on Ole Miss in Oxford, and a Marine was yelling at Marquise Goodwin. It wasn't that long since that happened. But right now, Ole Miss has won 26 out of their last 31 games in college football since 2022 or something like that. It's amazing what they've done. And as long as Lane Kiffin is sticking around in Oxford, you kind of get the feeling they're going to keep doing it.
I think you made a really good hire with Pete Golding, who, in my opinion, has adapted to modern college football offenses as well as anybody out there. I had some question marks about him at Alabama a couple of times, but I think he's going to like what? Like, how are you letting Quinn Ewers dice you up a little bit here? That was kind of my thought.
I think he got such a bad rap for the Tennessee game, and everyone's like, he's got to go. And it's the same with Bill O'Brien. And there's things that they did that were bad, but it's like there was like a top 20 defense and a top 10 offense for like 2 years in a row. Everyone's like, get him out of here. Yeah, let's bring in Tommy Rees, dude. Bring in Tommy Rees, see how that goes for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would love that. I'm sure a couple of you guys might as well. But I trust Ole Miss right now more than anyone else in the conference. Yeah. I don't think it's even that big of a stretch to say that, or that much of a question mark. Again, the big road trip to Georgia, but Georgia looks very, very beatable. The secondary still has major question marks, and they, like my team, have an affinity for shooting themselves in the foot. So kind of crazy to say here. I did have, for what it's worth, Steven, I had Ole Miss finishing fourth in the SEC. I was very high on the pairing of Lane Kiffin and Austin Simmons. But then watching, like Chris just said, watching some early turnovers and a few things, I was like, dang, I might be more of 7-5, 8-4 here, and probably finishing 9th or 10th.
Yeah. The funny thing is, whenever the interceptions were happening, me and Chris had a back and forth on one of the shows that we do about the interceptions with Austin Simmons, and I was like, but the other 3 quarters they've been dominating in, and it was talking. It's like it's there. If the turnovers stop, they're a very, very good team. And I mean, it took Trinidad Chambliss coming in a backup quarterback, but against I'm telling you, right now, I don't know if at any point last season I felt as good about this Ole Miss team as I do right now.
Yeah.
And that's bizarre. Last season was a much more talented team. This is probably a better football team.
Red Sox just got out with the bases loaded, so we're all getting through it. We're working through it over here, guys.
What's the score over there?
3-3.
3-3. Wow, some runs.
First and second, no outs. Whatever. And also, I'm drinking this for you, by the way.
Hey, a little Shiner Bog. Actually, not too far down the road.
Love it.
Chris talked to us a little bit about LSU. Obviously, I think that's for Tiger fans. The loss is pretty deflating, especially after you have wins over Clemson, Florida. Not that that's insanely worth a lot. I should not be speaking like that until post Saturday. But what's the feelings in Baton Rouge and around the LSU program right now?
I mean, everything's come crashing down here. It went from like 100 to 0. I guess it's the opposite of Drake. And just like that, and it's been like, I think everyone has 2 eyes. Me, I have 4 because I'm superior to everybody. And so, but like everyone is watching Garrett Nussmeier throw the football, and everyone is watching this saying like, I don't know, man, he looks kind of injured, like something looks off. And we're hearing constantly from Brian Kelly, like, nope, that's not true. He's fine. They're going to rest him this week, which is what they should have done against Southeastern. But I think the idea that, like, and Steven, you remember going up against Michael Van Buren for Mississippi State last year. It wasn't like he was a bad quarterback. I mean,
he's good.
I think he played against Texas too. I don't remember if he played well, but he played really well against Georgia, and he played well late into the year in a couple of those games. So it's like, now I've seen him all fall camp, and he was not good. But I think that if you go into that game against Southeastern, and you say, listen, we're like this is one thing that makes Kirby so great. Big picture. Like, you can lose that game to Ole Miss and not have your playoff hopes dashed with 1 loss. If you're going to play an injured quarterback the rest of the way and then sit here and hope that an extra 6 to 7 days of rest is somehow going to magically fix him when it didn't in preseason, when you could have rested him as well. Like, I think that you're flirting with disaster here if you're LSU. I will say this also: the defense is still good enough to keep them in every game. Like, the defense is still good enough, and get them to a championship. But I said this even before Nussmeier looked like has the past couple of weeks. The defense is good enough to win you a championship. The offense is bad enough to cost you getting to one. And I think that everyone is very concerned about that. And then the run game situation too, which is like what cracked me up was Ole Miss had the worst, statistically speaking, the worst rush defense in the SEC going into that game. You would have thought at least they would have tried to exploit that a little bit. And then you see what Brian Kelly did, which is they came out of the game. The starter running back was a wide receiver, Xavier Thomas. They only had 3 rush attempts, 2 running backs in the first half. And they were like, it was like 3 for 14 yards. Like, why do you not at least try to do something with that and then not be so one-dimensional, especially with an injured quarterback? The whole coaching thing was just very, very surprising to me.
Yeah, Pete Golding ran drop 8 that entire game. Just said, hey, run us out of it. Make us quit doing this. And for some reason, LSU never would. Yeah. I mean, the freshman running back in the second half that scored a touchdown for LSU, they're all excited. And I'm like, hey, he averaged 3 yards per carry. Let's calm this down a little.
Double what they were doing. I mean, also, see, that's a former 5-star. Like, you have dudes, hand them the ball. Mm-hmm. And then the other part of it too is the injuries are starting to mount up. Gabe Relaford, your edge rusher from he goes out for the year the week before against Southeast Louisiana. You injure somebody, got a broken nose and a concussion before the game. Weston Davis, the right tackle, which is, I don't know if that's like was it Gus Farrat type situation, the guy who ran his head into the side of the wall, or whatever. Like, I don't know if it was like one of those things, but like, and I mean, again, like, it's purely speculation. I really don't know, but it just was. They came out and they got those first 2 stops. I was like, man, this is gonna be a great game, and you just kind of expected LSU to figure out a way to get going. And you brought up the quote. I thought it was kind of stupid from Kiffin about, oh yeah, it's the best defense money can buy. Like, I get what he's saying, but that's just the day and age of football we're in now. It's not like, I mean, we're a year removed from Ole Miss going in and buying as many players as possible. And like, I love what he's been able to do this year without having to do that. It's been great. But I think it's also like, that's just this day and age of football. It's going to happen every single year. But my whole point is, Defensively, yeah, you best defense money combined. They went out and got a ton of dudes in the secondary, ton of dudes in that front four. It's not like they'd stop spending money on offense. It's not like they didn't spend any money on the other side of the ball. Like, it's just so them not being able to, dude. The only touchdown they scored in the first half, I think until the fourth quarter, was on a tipped pass. Like this whole thing was really, really. It should have been much worse.
Yeah, they did a favor to LSU fans because Sage Ryan was going to pick that off if Green didn't tap it to the receiver.
I fully agree. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah,
I will say this. You said it was a flattering scoreboard. Like, yeah, big time, man. Because, I mean, that could have been a 20, 25, 30-point game, not to get, like, college basketball on you. But, I mean, it had the writing on the wall. I can't believe we've talked for 16 minutes about LSU and Ole Miss. I don't know if anybody's mentioned Kawan Lacey. Might be my overall favorite back, one of my favorite players in the conference. We're going to go to Georgia, Bama. But first, we're going to hear a word from our sponsor, David McClellan.
Big financial decisions don't have to feel overwhelming. There's someone who can guide you every step of the way. David McClellan is a fiduciary financial advisor with Forum Financial, and he's working closely with his clients as a true financial life coach, guiding every aspect of your financial journey with expertise and care. If his name sounds familiar, that's because David was a swimmer at Texas and a member of several national championship teams. Today, he channels that same championship mindset into helping people win with their finances. David specializes in financial planning, and he's contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. And right now, David is offering viewers a free intro consultation to assess your financial situation. Do not miss this chance to get personalized guidance from a trusted expert. To schedule your free consult, email David at dmcclellan@forumfinancial.com, or you can call him directly at 312-933-8823. The contact info is in the description.
All right, guys. A 33-game home streak against non-conference opponents in the SEC East has come to an end. I don't mean to throw too much shade at Georgia since they kind of do own us. And, you know,
they haven't lost a home game since Saturday.
There we go. I'm sure they'll love to hear that one. Oh, man, if A&M loses, I've got some fun tweets. Some Aggies have been dropping some similar stats. But anyways, I had Alabama winning this game. I think last week on this show we had a clean panel sweep with the Tide winning. But I will say this. When that game got into the second half, I thought Georgia was going to find a way. I thought Georgia absolutely – I mean, I know that the big, hey, the shutout in the second half stat, they're kind of hanging their hats on that a little bit. But – Chris, how did the Tide do it again? How did Kalen DeBoer once again break Georgia hearts? I mean, I feel like it doesn't matter who the coach or the quarterback is at this point. Alabama's beating Georgia.
It is. They own Georgia. Like, it's not, this isn't talking trash. This isn't like you can hang whatever banner you want about not allowing any second half points and like, you should have had this on the play call. He should have had a first down or blah, blah, blah. I've been watching. I grew up in the state of Georgia. These people have been champions of August for 40 years of my life. 39, because I'm only 39. I don't want to sell myself as even older than I am. They've been champions of August. Every year is their year since the day I was born. And what's weird to me is if we want to have an honest conversation about Georgia when it comes to Bama, I still think Georgia's the best program in the SEC. I think it's arguably the best program in the entire country. This weekend kind of shifted my thought that they're not the best in the country overall. That probably belongs to Ohio State or Oregon at this point. But Kirby Smart, defensive genius, all that kind of stuff. I think you have to knock them off before you can sit here and say that they're not the champion. Because they lost them last year and they still won the SEC championship game. But here's the thing, and I hope that Georgia fans hear me out when I say this. Every year, you wake up like Groundhog Day and go and show up to this game and talk all this trash about how, like, of course they're going to win this year. And I believed it this year. I believed it. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they should beat Kalen DeBoer. Florida State beat the brakes off of them. And you showed up to this game, and I think what I finally realized when it comes to Georgia-Bama, this is T-Moo Penn State. Like, this is of course we're going to win that game. And you show up and piss down your leg every single time. It doesn't matter how talented the team is. Like, and I don't care if this is going to ruffle some feathers or hurt some feelings because it's the truth. They sat there and get to hang their hat on that one national championship they had when Bama had 5 starters out. Like, we're talking about a 2-decade dominance streak if that doesn't happen. And I still think there's a lot of season left. They can learn from a lot of things like that. But they show time and time again that whenever that other team is on the other sideline, something happens to Kirby. You want to talk about the 4th and 1 call that was a weird call for them. Let's talk about the 4th and goal from the 2 they went for in the first quarter and threw the football. You were averaging 7 yards a carry at the end of that game. But what that told me more than anything was, because you didn't have those numbers in the first quarter, obviously, but what that told me more than anything was we don't feel like we can line up and beat Alabama. And I'm looking at this from a standpoint of, I said this a couple weeks ago, people thought I was crazy. I felt more confident from a Bama standpoint against Georgia than I do this Saturday against Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt will line up and try to physically beat you and do the things that they're good at. Georgia knows what they're good at. They just refuse. They refuse to do it against Alabama. It's almost like this like weird, like, you ever seen the movie Cocktail? This is
Great
like
movie.
a tangent.
Great movie. Great movie.
Would have been the most inconvenient bar to ever go to. Just ever. But like, if I ask you for a Bud Light, I don't need you to recite a poem. Just hand me the drink. If it's 4th and 1, run the football in between the tackles. Stop trying to get so cute with everything. You have 3 receivers on the field. Like, it blows my mind. And every single Georgia fan that wants to sit here and be upset about the refs or be upset about Bobo, whatever, you need to look directly at Kirby Smart. And I love Kirby Smart. But look directly at Kirby Smart and say, like, brother, why didn't you do this on 4th and 2 in the first? Like, why didn't you just kick the field goal? You had all the momentum. Tie it up. Go make them beat you. Like, put the pressure on them.
It's not like they lost by 3 or anything, though. So, I mean, that's kind of.
Yeah.
He said 10 out of 10 times he would have done it again. Yeah. That's why you've lost 10 out of the last 11.
Yeah. We talked about before this game that Georgia can't get beat by the logo. They got beat by the logo. Kirby Smart, for whatever reason, when they see the Alabama elephant and the numbers on the side of the helmet, he turns into what Lane Kiffin was in 2021. Get your popcorn ready. There was the same type stuff. Yeah. And Alabama is just such in the Saban assistant's head. And all the assistants that worked at Alabama, it's just in their head. And I tell you something right now, Auburn didn't look good against Texas A&M. Auburn didn't look good against Oklahoma. Auburn will look good against Georgia.
Yeah. Did you know the line?
What is that?
3.5, and the money line is only Auburn plus 136.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the game. That is the lock the gates behind you game. That's the Hugh Freeze game that stands up. And if Georgia has 2 losses before they play Ole Miss, teams. Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing too, though. Like I saw this, and this is the last thing I'll say about Georgia, because Bama deserves a ton of credit for what they did, and Ty Simpson especially, and I think we can all pour one out for emotional hedges because, brother, they work a lot. I love it. But I saw the stat that's like in their last 7 games against Power 4 opponents, they're 4-3, and they've won 3 of those 4 games in overtime. You're talking about being dangerously close to 1-6, like the Texas game, overtime in the SEC, and Texas advances further in the playoff than they did. Georgia Tech, 8 overtimes, and think about the miracles that had to happen for them to get in that game. Tennessee, like, I don't think the sky is falling in Athens or anything like that, but I think people are starting to figure it out. For sure. And then the other stuff I'll say too is, from the Bama standpoint, they came out with just the most beautifully creative. I felt like I was watching Sark, man. I felt like I was watching Sark in the 2020 national championship all over again, which is like, like the different wrinkles they were doing shit that I've never seen them do, or we've never seen an offensive lineman go out and run a screen pass at 365 pounds. It's awesome to sit here and see all the stuff that they opened up, and without the ability to run the football, to still be able to do that and move the ball like that, I thought it was awesome, man. And I just kept waiting for it to end in like the first half. Like, I know they didn't score in the second half, and that field goal they tried to kick. We joked about this on Sunday, Steven. I don't know if it's landed yet. That thing was, good Lord. That was like the balloon boy thing. It just kept going. But I think that they were so great on offense. This is not a disrespect to Georgia, but the true test of how good Kalen DeBoer has done from year 1 to year 2 happens this weekend. Like, how do you now go out and win that game?
Yeah, with the power of Johnny Manziel on the sideline backing up old Diego.
What the hell is that about?
Oh my God. I have no idea, but I'm here for it.
Oh.
And also the most hilarious thing is, for some reason, some Auburn fan hopped on Twitter and started running noise at Vanderbilt, and they put it up just like, okay, we can take trash talk from every team in the SEC. We're not going to take that shit from Auburn. And then they put a record that they're 22-22.
Oh yeah, they're 500 against them.
Yeah,
that's well done.
All time.
Yeah.
But like you said, Chris, like Vandy's going to show up and be where they need to be. They're not going to be afraid. They're going to be very sound, very disciplined. I don't think they fear a logo in the SEC. They proved that. I was kind of proved that last year. Steven, we got you for a couple more minutes here. So considering this is Inside Texas, I'm going to get you to give some takes on Oklahoma and Texas A&M. You start with either of those that you would like, but just what you've seen and what you kind of expect down the line from both of them.
I think Oklahoma, when they have John Mateer, is a pretty good team. I mean, they're actually, it's understatement of the year. They're a really good team when that happens because the defense is so good. I don't trust Texas A&M this weekend. They play one of the Mississippi schools, and historically they do not do well against the Mississippi schools for whatever reason. After their big start, after everything going on, it's a home game at least, but if Mississippi State can rebound after what happened against Tennessee, I think that could be a little bit weird, because if you remember in Texas A&M's bowl game, they couldn't get into zone defense. They just didn't know how to play zone defense. After the game, Mike Elko was like, hey, yeah, we don't know how to play zone. And I was like, what? Like cover 2 and cover 1 and cover 3 and all that. That's like day one install of 9th grade. I was like, you can't do it. And I don't know. I know that this game is going to mean a ton for Jeff Lebby. It's going to be a massive game because he's from the state of Texas. He might not be from A&M, but he is from the state of Texas. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to the Vandy-Bama game because Vandy gave up rushing yards got rushing yards against everybody, and Alabama's been giving up rushing yards against everybody. So what gives?
Right. I do like Ty Simpson against that Vanderbilt secondary. I saw some stuff out of Utah State last week that I think Bama obviously can do at an even better level. But yeah, I had to ask your opinion. I do think Oklahoma is pretty dang good with John Mateer because of that defense, because they can lean on him in the run game, play from a +1 perspective. And then, if they can minimize his risk taking, they're going to be pretty tough to beat. But again, I have question marks about that offensive line. As far as A&M and Mississippi State, it kind of sounds, and if it is this way, I would agree with you. It sounds like Mississippi State and the points may be a bit of a gift here. I mean, you're getting 2 touchdowns and the hook, pretty big number there. And I think the biggest issue for Mississippi State in this game is, yes, getting back up emotionally, going on the road and doing so in front of 100 and whatever they pretend to have inside of Kyle Field every week. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see Jeff Lebby, and yeah, I definitely think he'll be geared up extra for this one. Blake Shapen as well. I mean, he spent time in the state of Texas, obviously. Brennan Thompson, another Texas boy, the leading receiver for the Bulldogs. So that emotional get back up might not be as difficult as, I'm thinking it is. So
are you sure that Blake Shapen is played in Texas?
Maybe just a hair.
Because he's the only person that has ever been from Texas that has not made it their entire personality. So I have not heard him say that.
I've not made it. Well, I do have a Twitter account called Ghost of Texas. I know. All right, Steven, really appreciate you being here with us, man. Means a lot. Would love to have you back on further down the line, talk some Reb football. And I'll go ahead and say you brought up 10-2 earlier, man. It kind of, I almost feel safe saying that might be the Ole Miss floor at this point, the way this season has gone, and with the defense, quarterback play that you have. Chambliss has been better than Nussmeier, Arch Manning, DJ Lagway, and many others. Very impressive.
At Georgia and at Oklahoma, that's going to tell the tale.
There's I'm working on getting up there for for Oklahoma and Ole Miss, because I just think those two fan bases. I know that y'all might not have loved the rivalry they're trying to enforce on you guys, but for me personally, man, this guy that hangs out on Twitter all the time, it's going to be a blast.
It's got to be nice for you guys to not have to go play ranked opponents every single weekend, like to have like a little 3-week break. What South Carolina is about to go into is going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be tough. Anyway.
All right, Steven, thank you very much, brother. Thank you.
All right, man.
All right, guys, we got another half hour with Mr. Chris Marler and myself, but first, we're going to hear a word from our sponsor, Luxe Kitchen and Bath.
Are you ready to love your kitchen and bathroom again? Luxe Kitchen and Bath will bring that to life. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring your dream vision to life. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team also provides full home remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today, or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get your free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE, or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Contact info is in the description.
All right, brother, man. Let's preview some games. And of course, we're going to start with a game that I care about and most of our listeners care about the most as well. We're going to pop up the injury report for Texas and Florida right here. It might be a little bit difficult to see. Let's see if we can zoom it in some. There we go. A little bit, but Cedric Baxter is listed as doubtful. Obviously, Texas has had issues with injuries in the running back room throughout the season. But Quintravion Weissner, you see his name on the questionable list. I personally feel pretty confidently that, we see him. You see Emmett Mosley as well, Kobe Black. Florida with a slew of guys out down here. But they do get freshman Dallas Wilson back, which they are very, very excited about for a passing game that has obviously been unimpressive. Maybe that's the boost they need. But, Mr. Marler, when we're talking Gators, 1-3, obviously schedules, if Texas has played their schedule, you can't sit there and guarantee that we don't go 1-3. Right. What have you seen out of Florida? Is there any reason for hope? And then if you want to touch on DJ Lagway, that offense and their struggles, feel free, brother.
They're really good in the trenches. They were to start the season. Like, this team, it's easy to sit here and look at it and have the low hanging fruit because it's Texas and I think that I always say this, like we talked about in the media, especially like in the summer of 2023, we started talking about the 2024 schedule for Florida, and like, oh, there's no way Billy Napier's going to make it and survive. And then it was awesome when he did. It was awesome. I jokingly said this, but it was like barely a joke. Like, if they go 7-5 with that schedule, he should be coach of the year. They end up going, I think, 8-5. They win however many games in a row. They close out the season. They have that big win against Ole Miss, LSU, all that kind of stuff. But like, the scary part is, as soon as you get through that, you look up and you're like, oh God, the schedule for next year is like just as bad, if not worse. So, their schedule at the start of the year, I think USF's a good team, but you should have beaten them. You had every opportunity to. I think LSU, you threw 5 interceptions, you only lost by 10. These are all caveats that you could, think to build off of maybe, or convince yourselves it wasn't as bad as it was. But like, this is such a dangerous spot for Florida, because Texas, this isn't Texas coming in like arrogant. Texas finally has a chip on their shoulder with a point to prove. And coming out of the bye week, I'm very excited to see what Sark is going to dial up, because there's part of me that thinks, is he going to leave anything on the table for the Oklahoma game, and that defense he's got to face a week from now in Dallas, like, or is he going to sit out here and like get the ball rolling to get Arch finally going? And it's going to be a tough environment for sure. But I think Texas takes their will early on, man. I think that place is going to be emptied out by the third quarter.
Man, I would love to see that. Now, I definitely agree with you. If Texas hops out on Florida early, you start making, these 1-3 Gators who have a coach that the entire country is talking about almost on a daily basis now, make them question what they're fighting for in that spot. Is it really worth it, to continue going? Again, these are college athletes. Yeah. They're not going to need much to get out there and want a ball. But at the same time, I mean, you got to look at the tape and look at some of the effort from the end of the game against South Florida, the end of the game against against LSU, and the end of the game against Miami. Effort definitely seemed to take a little bit of a toll there. And maybe they're coming off a bye week too. Maybe they're tired. They're on the field a lot because their offense can't pick up first downs or move the football.
No.
When you see that offense, man, is it a similar play calling thing you're talking about with LSU? You got a great running back and ball, but it doesn't seem like they want to give him the rock. They're definitely hanging their hat and living and dying on the success of DJ Lagway right now. But what do you see with the offense?
What success? First off, I really think that I think it'll be interesting in terms of they're also coming out of a bye week. Like they need this so much more than Texas. I'm in the position of when it comes to Florida in general, like there's a part of me that really respects Billy Napier, that he's like, you know what, I'm not turning over play calling duties. Like I'm going to do it, and he is not succeeding with it. But I still have a respect for him, like kind of like the captain going down with the ship. So it's the opposite of what Hugh Freeze is doing. Hugh Freeze is like pretending that somebody's making play calls on second down, he's doing first, and then they're rock paper scissors for third down or whatever, and like it's the weirdest shit. But like the thing with Florida, I do respect that. It's just not working. It's just not working, and I think they put so much expectations on Lagway, which is not unfair because everyone has expectations. Arch obviously has a ton of expectations, but look what Arch has around him. Like Florida doesn't have that. Like Florida doesn't have all those skill position players like Texas does, or an offensive mind like Sark. Like, so it'll be interesting to see. I maintain this, like when it comes, if you're a Florida fan, Scott Strickland is so lucky that Florida won the national championship in basketball, because that's the only reason he still has a job. He's been awful. All of his hires have been awful. But if you're trying to figure out what to do with Billy Napier, and everyone keeps talking about the writing on the wall, if you don't think he's the guy, you don't want him to win this game. Like you don't. Sorry. Oh.
Thank you, Josh.
No, it's like he is a, like, what's the best way to put it? He's like, if you're gonna fire him, you should probably just do it. I always say this. I don't know if you play poker at all, but like my whole thing is, in poker, you don't want good cards. You want easy decisions. Like you don't want, you obviously want good cards, but like what you want more than anything is easy decisions. And if you have Florida, if you're Florida and you're trying to figure out what to do with Billy Napier, if he wins, it's going to start the whole talk of like, well, he did kind of, go on a run last year. And if he plays it close, it's like, he did kind of go on a run last year. Like you're going to judge this thing in the weirdest way. Like a close loss is going to feel like a success to them. And if you don't fire him after this week or before this week, I don't know when you're going to do it. I really don't. I don't think it's a buyout money situation, but it's just weird that they haven't done that yet.
Me personally, I would have done it the day after Miami. I would have done it immediately. You have a bye week. You have time to build up the interim and the hype that surrounds that. You know how it goes, Chris. You see it. You see the guys play for the Gipper, but not the one that just got canned. And right. So I same here. Like if Florida doesn't hit some big plays early on, and they don't find that juice of that crowd gets a little restless. That crowd, it's going to be maybe a little bit more Ryder Cup, where they're going to be more worried about hating one team than cheering on the other. But it won't be the home team that gets the cheering.
Also, dude, like the problem with this is, like, I think Billy Napier is dumb enough to think that we should try to knuckle deep.
Golly.
I think he's dumb enough to think that, like, we got to outscore these people, and I'm gonna put my offensive mind against Sark. And I salute the delusion. Good for you, man. Like, there's not a better offensive mind in the country than Sark. But to go into this game and think that you're gonna somehow outscore him, the thing that I don't think anyone's talking about is like, dude, how are they gonna score? Like, LSU's a really good defense. Texas might have the best defense in America. Like. How are they going to score? So it's just such an uphill battle, man.
I'm with you, man. And I feel like if Florida does the same old, the same routine that they've been doing, they try to dink and dunk a little bit. They can't hit anything down the field. They don't really have a cat that can't stretch the field. And that's what they're hoping with Dallas Wilson. But then you don't hand the ball off to the running back, who's clearly an NFL prospect. Right. Maybe they don't trust the offensive line. Very big question marks about scheme, play calling, sometimes personnel decision, because sometimes when they run 12 personnel, similar to Texas, I don't think it's maybe to their best benefit.
Right.
Well, let's talk about the flip side of the ball, man. Ron Roberts has a good defense for 3 quarters. They've looked pretty dang salty. You talked about 5 turnovers from LSU there in that game, and Florida still holds them to a low point total and stays in the football game.
But look at what we know about LSU's offense now.
Exactly. Bingo.
I think the South Florida game is a better representation of how good the defense is, almost because of what we've seen with the Alex Golesh offense. But the scary part of that too, man, is that, like, this is why you should have fired him beforehand, which is the South Florida game. Did you watch the game?
Yes, sir. Big fan of the veer and shoot.
Oh, dude, it's so much fun. But they came into that game, and you watch the final drive, and they have to go down and score, right? And they get like the start of the drive. You get a 15-yard penalty and then another 15-yard penalty because someone spits in someone's face, and you're like, whoa, like that. I'm in the press conference with Brian Kelly the next week over here in Baton Rouge, and somebody brought it up, and he goes, yeah, we don't really coach against that. It's usually something we just kind of expect not to happen. And it was like kind of like throwing shade. And then the next week you have an assistant coach before the pregame in Florida LSU slap another player. Like that just screams to me you've lost control. And so I don't know how he still has a job.
You talk about, Florida is coming off a bye week, but a bye week it's not guaranteed to be productive for a college football program. That's something that you have guys that maybe they have more time to sit around and talk about what is going wrong instead of, hey, how do we flip this around?
Right.
I'll let you answer this, Chris. It is a pretty funny question. And we haven't seen any boat photos, but is Billy worse than Mr. McElwain was?
No, no, because like the thing with Billy Napier versus McElwain, Billy Napier is coming into this job with the cupboard being bare with recruiting. He's also took the job at like the very start of NIL, transfer portal, and whatever else. We had all these sweeping changes across the board in college football, right? McElwain, and then, oh, by the way, Tennessee's back, right? Texas and Oklahoma are coming into the conference, and Georgia's the best program in America. Like that's what Billy Napier had. Oh, and by the way, we just we sprinkled in road games with Miami and Florida State, like we always do. But we're going to make you play 11 Power 4 opponents for some reason. And Miami's going to have $20 million of NIL money, and Florida State's going to have an undefeated season in 20. Like, it's McElwain got like Sharks Gone Wild, like for one, and then he also got to do. He got to take over this job when like Mark Richt is on the outs, and Georgia's like dipping over their like 15-year trend, and Tennessee was at arguably the worst that they've been in 20 years, and so. The uphill battle's just been bad, man. It's just been bad.
I fully agree with you there. Jimmy was a little bit different, man. That is a different type of bad, different type of losing control, in my opinion. All for the reasons that Chris just mentioned. The SEC East was, for one, still a thing, and for two, they're really, really bad. And you go look at Florida's schedule the last couple of years. He did a hell of a job last year. I don't care what anybody else says. I mean, it might not have been. The way that they found a way to win 7 regular season games and then go cap it off with a bowl win, like we talked about earlier. I mean, to me, that was impressive. Texas had the benefit of not playing DJ Lagway. I know we blew them out, but at the end of the day, I thought Florida's season was a success. But then, as you said, you have to turn around and do it all right back again. You feel comfortable with Texas in the number?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I've got it. I still think the under is definitely in play, but I do think Florida is at risk of not breaking double digits in this game. I think Texas gives them hell for 4 hours on that side of the ball. Let's pivot to a big one, baby. Bama seeks vengeance against Vanderbilt, against Diego Pavia, Eli Stowers. They conceded 40 points in Nashville last year. What are our thoughts and emotions here, man? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what to expect. I just know Vanderbilt's going to fight their ass off.
It's going to be so weird. So the thing about Vandy, let's start there, and we'll start with the game last year. You can sit here and say, like, oh, yeah, with this big emotional win against Georgia and blah, 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 blah. Fine. But you haven't lost these people in 40 years. They had lost to Georgia State. And it was not something where they, like, went into this game and all of a sudden it was, oh, well, like it wasn't a kick six. It wasn't like an Ole Miss game where like the ball's tipped and on 3rd and 11 and as Chad Kelly's getting dragged to the ground and it somehow falls in their lap. Like none of that happened. They lined up and beat you. So I think the concern becomes like they were able to physically bully you. And I think they're going to be able to physically bully them a little bit offensively this year, too. I think you're going to see them stack the box. Bama secondary is second in the country right now. They're very, very good. Very, very talented. And I think they're going to try to figure out a way to make Diego Pavia beat them. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game. I cannot believe this kid is still today running his mouth. Like, if we go out there and play our game, it won't be close. Like, I mean, tip of the cap, man. Like he hasn't been wrong yet. I think that the biggest thing that's going to discourage of last year's performance from happening again is Vandy is not walking around with like a target on their back necessarily, but they're not going to sneak up on anybody. And I think that Bama is going to be very, very motivated. I think that game against Florida State was like very, very big in turning their momentum. And listen, I think also like they're going to struggle at times in this game, especially defensively, because that's like Vandy's 5-0. It's not like Vandy's eking out wins, man. Like Vandy's running up the score on people. They're putting in backups and still throwing the ball, and they've won every game by 20+ points. Number 4 scoring offense in the country. I think they're top 10 in total offense as well. Like they're a good football team. I have to think, and this is 40 years of a track record that I'm speaking with here. They've only won once. I would have to think that I don't know if it's going to be another 40 years till their next win. I don't think it will be. I don't think it's going to be less than 365 days, though. I think Bama will figure out a way to win at home.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think, Vegas isn't dumb, man. They got 10.5 on this game for a reason. Bama should be able to withstand, the depth is where, you should have the big difference there. Defense for Bama, they're pretty deep. The secondary is really, really good. Vanderbilt will have some success in this game. It'll probably, in my opinion, be early on. But can they replicate that in the second half when Alabama is really locked in and they picked up on tendencies? Because there is a very big difference in talent level between the Vanderbilt offense and the Bama defense. But again, at the end of the day, man, Vandy's going to make it hard. The underwater defense, they say. I mean, there's a lot of things to be excited about with Vanderbilt, but I would be shocked if Vanderbilt found a way to win outright. If they covered the number, that would be much less surprising. But yeah, I could understand why Tuscaloosa would be pretty nervous about this one because, it is not Vanderbilt of old. The jokes don't run.
It's weird. It's weird now because it's like everyone's pulling for it, which I get. The Johnny Manziel thing is weird. I like that part to me is like, and I've been calling Diego Pavia Husky Johnny Manziel since last year. So one, I want royalties, and two, like it is weird to me that he's going to be on the sideline for them. I think that if you're Bama, it's very rare in like the last 20 years, and I know this is a different era and a new coach, but it's very rare that you get to go into a game with some anger and vengeance and chip on your shoulder from something. And, all this kid has to do is just not say anything. Maybe he backs it up. And I think he's a great player either way. But I think that Ty Simpson, when we leave the field on Saturday, like from that game, we leave the games at night and all that kind of stuff. I think that you're going to see a performance from him that is like, that kid might be in the actual Heisman conversation. And that's not taking anything away from Poppy because I think he deserves to be up there as well. But I think that you're going to see a defense that's going to try to make them one-dimensional and have to throw to beat them. And I don't think they're going to be able to do it.
I agree with you there. They won't be able to consistently move the ball through the air. They know where they've got hit last year. I mean, they just don't have enough guys out there to really punish Bama secondary, and not many teams do, to be honest. Bama secondary is elite.
If they do win, like if Vandy does win, because they haven't played anybody yet. I mean, and that's coming from the host of Locked On South Carolina. That was a very impressive win. But like Lenoris gets injured in the second quarter, you play a backup for the rest of that game. That was like a 7-point game at that point. And Lenoris had just thrown an interception going in to score. So that game was a lot closer, I think. But Virginia Tech obviously sucks. I can confirm as watching South Carolina play them, and they don't have a coach right now. Like they haven't played anybody else. It's like super impressive at all. Utah State, you could argue, besides South Carolina, might be their best win. And I wonder if they do win, where do they go in the rankings?
That is a great question that I hadn't even considered yet. Not the answer to it. That would be, man. They're gonna skyrocket. You'd have to, right? Because like you're saying, it's the first real test. The
real question is, if they win, how high up do the voters move Penn State and Notre Dame for no reason at all?
I tell you what, man, I'm never betting on Penn State again in my life, and I'm an idiot for falling for it. I'm just gonna go ahead.
I'll vouch for this one. For whatever reason, this year I was like, maybe so. Because why would Vegas continue to throw this money at you?
I'm gonna be honest. I think that much like our boss man Eric Nalin here, I do think that Ohio State is a bit of a paper tiger, and so I'm already getting ready to guarantee victory for Penn State when they go to the shoot. I'm a mad man at times, man. I wouldn't recommend anybody living up here with me, but yeah, man. I don't know. I just can't see Vandy winning outright, dude. It's just no way. You saw the way Ryan Grubb can get just a little bit, smallest bit of separation for guys out in space.
Yeah.
In the quick stuff, underneath stuff. And I don't think, Vandy's going to tackle well, but you're going to have to line up and tackle some really damn good athletes for 4 quarters. And again, the offense just won't be able to keep up.
The biggest thing too is you got to figure out from last year. And Bama got down early so badly in that game because the turnovers. I think they had a pick 6, and it was like,
yeah, they did
just stuff like that. Like, and they came close to coming back, but like in this scenario, you're looking at it and you're like, man, they really like if Ty Simpson hasn't thrown an interception this season, and it's going to happen at some point. So it's like if they end up throwing away multiple like opportunities because of like bad turnovers, something like that, then that's a path I can easily get behind with Vandy.
Yeah. I felt like, Ty was a little bit too safe in that loss at Florida State. He still does a really good job going through his progressions. And you can tell there's a big emphasis on protecting the football, probably because they know they're going to have a really good defense that they can trust. But
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see if they can physically, bow up to Vanderbilt in the ground game. And if so, it probably gets ugly. But all right, one more game I want to talk with you about, Aggies. Mentioned a little bit earlier, I think Mississippi State has a chance to go in there and make them sweat a little bit. How about you? Too much to get back up after that tough loss to the Vols?
It feels like it because they're on the road. I think like I want to believe in this team more than anyone because I think it's just such a great story. No program in the country's had to go through what this program's had to go through. Like Mike Leach passing away at like so unexpectedly, and then you get you replace him with the D coordinator. And then you fire him after a year, and then you bring in Levy, and so there's so much turnover and so much instability. And oh, by the way, you're losing 40 players in the offseason to, the portal, and they're going to other teams in the conference now, like your best players. Like we talk about Craver a lot, but Coleman went to Mizzou. And like, so there's a lot on the table here. I really want to believe in Mississippi State. I think that A&M is good. I think A&M is good, and they're at home. And I think that is going to be a very tough environment for them to go succeed in. And so I think you'll see them put up some fight early on because I think they're Levy's an offensive guy. When they're on script, they're going to be good. You've seen them score early in a lot of their games so far. I think they're going to do that, but I think in the second half, they're going to be way too thin.
I agree with you, man. I think it's a spot where Mississippi State has to have some things go their way early on. They're going to have to probably turn over Marcel Reed and build probably like a 2-score lead and just hang on for dear life, throughout that game. They're going to have to continue to score because I don't think that they'll stop A&M in the ground game, in which, the 2 receivers that A&M has between Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver, they kind of traded off, having big games. And again, it's all about coverage and who they're matched up with. But I just see some advantageous matchups for A&M in the secondary. I do think that Jeff Levy, though, I am betting and expecting a lot of early success. A couple of early, maybe he puts up 10 points on the first 2 drives. Finds another score in the second. If they are able to do that, then I'll start to think, maybe they got a shot. But again, you mentioned depth. A&M's offensive line, they've looked about as I expected. I thought they had a chance to be one of the top 3 in the SEC. And Le'Veon Moss runs super, super hard. Amari Daniels has been pretty strong as well. I hate that A&M side.
A good bet for, like, if we're just talking gambling. I don't know what the first half over is, but if it's anything over 26.5 or right around that number, which sometimes it is, this A&M defense has given up points. And just because they played well against Auburn, I don't know, it's indicative about them being great on defense because Auburn's offense is really bad. So I like that first half over a lot, even though I don't know what the total is at all.
So we're going to look it up right here. Again, Script Levy, in my opinion, is going to have some stuff dialed up. Hit A&M, and for a few easy points. I'm hoping so, man. I'm really, really hoping. I'm trying to talk myself into it. I hate A&M being 5-0. I hate it with a passion, man, because, again, I don't think that they have a schedule that might not even be as difficult as ours when you consider who they have home and away. Yeah. So, again, what time's that game? It's a night game, right? See, they draw on all the night games. This conference just caters to the Aggies 24/7. I've had about enough of it.
I'm not even going to respond to that.
Yeah, come on.
But you're not wrong about what you said about the their schedule versus Texas. Hold on, what is it?
29.5. So I think
damn it.
It's tough.
Might
Close. I can see a 17-14.5.
Yeah.
The Bulldogs up 3. I could, maybe, again, being silly. Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on the Auburn offense real quick, dude? Because I think they're going to make a lot of defenses look real good, to be honest. It's child's play what they're doing over there, bro. They're in the passing game. Like, it's like if we don't have Cam Coleman or Singleton on a streak or a comeback wide ass open, we're not even going to throw it. We're going to hold that ball behind a terrible offensive line, not just Jackson Arnold.
It's the best offensive line they've had in 15 years. That's the sad
Is it
part.
though?
Yes, it is. They have not recruited that off. Like Gus Malzahn never recruited the offensive line. Allie told me some stat the other day, and you can't ever trust her, even though she's my fiance. She's a very big emotional Auburn fan, which most of them are, and I get it.
I get it.
But she told me some stat the other day, and I think it might be true. It was like they didn't have a starter that was over a 4-star in easily since 2013, I want to say. But I don't think they had a 3-star or higher, or they didn't have multiple 4-stars start on the offensive line since like 2018, which is insane. That offense is. I thought this was going to be a great spot for Jackson Arnold because of how awesome of a job Auburn did at committing to the NIL. You had 2 straight years of top 10 recruiting classes for high school kids. You went and spent a ton of money in the portal. You had a top 3 class in the portal. You went out and got some massive needs there. Like if you can't see it, like I don't know what else you can do. Like there's that picture floating around. I'm sure Josh Manning has seen this where it's like there's 4 people wide ass open. And he's not, the ball's still in his hand. And, you know, I think that Oklahoma fans were kind of, just to be frank, pretty big assholes about him. I mean, he was sitting there behind an offensive line that gave up 50 sacks and throwing to future accountants because their top 5 receivers were out for the whole year. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's Jackson Arnold as the problem. It's like, no, it's not. Like, have some self-awareness. Like, that's unbelievable. But now, you talk about, like, a lot of people love to hang their hat on the argument that, like, you know, sacks are a quarterback's stat, not offensive line. 21 sacks in 4 games, and that is the worst in the country. And you had 50 sacks last year at Oklahoma, which was the worst in the country. So not all those were on him because he didn't start every game last year. But, like, my God, man, it's something has to change. And here's the other part, too, that I will just go to my deathbed on this. I don't think Auburn has the best running back, like, stable in the conference. Last year, they had arguably the best running back, one of the best running backs in the conference.
Agreed.
The fact, do you know how many times Jarquez Hunter and he had 46 games at Auburn? Do you know how many times he got 20 or more carries?
4.
2.
Dang.
He averaged 215 yards per game in those games and had multiple touchdowns in each. They won those games by an average of 13 points. So if I am Hugh Freeze and I am openly shit-talking my quarterback for the 2nd straight year, I don't know, brother. Whenever you deem it your responsibility to call the plays on 1st and 3rd down on every other Tuesday under a harvest moon when Mercury's in retrograde, why don't you go ahead and turn around and have him hand it to the effing running back, dude? Like, I mean, like, what are we doing? Also, shout out my restraint. I'm not saying the F word there. I was pretty proud of myself.
Knuckles. It's tough, man. And I wanted the kid to succeed so badly. I followed his recruitment, obviously, out of Denton Guyer High School. Denton Guyer was a really good, is a really good program, and they were great those couple of years. But I mean, like, Jackson Arnold did a lot of things himself. I knew that Oklahoma's line last year was trash. I mean, it is what it is. They're better this year than, obviously, you know, it is what it is. But last year they were bad, and Sooners will tell you that. So, yeah, I as well thought this is going to be a good spot for Jackson to figure some things out, reinstall some confidence, and, you know, move on. And, again, with the offensive mind like Hugh Freeze, I had Auburn 5th in the SEC at year's end. Please tell Allie that, but don't tell her. I said tell Allie that, but maybe don't tell Allie that. She'll think less of me, but more of me. I don't know, because they're not going to finish 5th in the SEC, and maybe that offensive line, maybe the Texas in me doesn't want to give the A&M front and the Oklahoma front as much credit as they deserve. But yeah, I mean, they both played damn well over a 2-week stretch. Wasn't going to be easy for Auburn to go back to back. Oklahoma at A&M being off a bye week. And again, I do love Mike Elko. I think he's a phenomenal coach. And this is a little bit different of an Aggie program. I just hope we don't see that come to fruition for a little while. But All right, Chris, I'm going to let you get out of here. I'm going to let you go hop on one of your other 74 podcasts you probably have set up for the evening. But thank you, brother, so much for spending time with us, guys.
Of course, dude.
Go like the video, hop on Inside Texas, come hang out with us. We're on the forums all day. We're talking ball, hanging out. All the articles are posted over there. Obviously, you've got a slew of writers that cover a lot of different angles. Really, really fun, man. Come check us out. And again, for $1 for your first week, you get a whole year of The Athletic. Chris, again, thank you, brother. You guys hook 'em and have a good night.
Cheers.